Welcome to the Neverworld Podcast, where together we explore the strange and unusual. Every journey starts with the first step into the unknown.
Hey, welcome to Neverworld Podcast, and today we are going to talk about episode 11 of series 4 of Skinwalker Ranch. Well, we have flamethrowers, we have Tesla coils, UAPs, and possible wormholes. Good episode.
And lions and tigers and bears.
And bears, oh my, pretty much.
This was a good episode. This was almost like a catch-up episode. This is like, for so many episodes, we didn't have anything. The last episode, we had a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This one added and glommed onto it. I want to play a little game, count the government agents on the Skinwalker Ranch.
Good Lord. Yeah, that's the elephant in the room here. Jay Stratton returns, this time with a whole cadre of defense contractors.
How many guys? There's like 6 of them, all working for the government, but they don't work for the government anymore.
And they're all on Skinwalker, and they brought out a lot of tech.
They pulled out a lot of tech that nobody should be allowed to have if you ain't in the government.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, this is a conspiracy show. I mean, Neverworld is a conspiracy. We like to look at things or paranormal. This is a paranormal. Skinwalker Ranch is a paranormal show that has turned into an absolute conspiracy theory.
It absolutely has. And, you know, I want to talk about that on this episode, is because we saw that right off the bat, Jay Stratton and them all back. And we've been talking about that this whole season, ever since it was revealed that Travis had been working with the Pentagon and the task force and everything. And we was like, okay, well, you know, I already suspected, since he was part of NASA, that, you know, they already had their hooks in him. So,
right.
So I didn't think too much of it. Right. So when this happened, we did. And when this happened, it's like, okay, so now all we're ever probably going to see, this is my conspiracy, is whatever the government wants us to see. I believe, I strongly feel that the government has taken this project over, or they're controlling the narrative. Mm-hmm. So
when was the last time we saw Fugel for any length of time other than
he's not even going out there?
High up on. Yeah.
I don't think he's been out there this season. If he has, it's only been like one time. Yeah.
It looks like maybe he makes an appearance next episode, but I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm guessing this next episode is going to be the last episode for the season.
I think there's a couple more. I think there's 13 episodes. If I'm not mistaken.
So there might be a few more. But I want to talk about them finally doing what I said to do. I don't know. I think before we
couple years ago,
this is for season 4, and I think I said in season 2, talking to you just about the show because we always liked it, was like, why don't they get up to that 30 or 40 foot mark, and you know, with a ladder or a crane or something, and just do what they're talking about doing. Well, they finally did. They finally listened.
They heard you.
Like the high-low, they bring the guy up. And the cool thing is, they had a flamethrower. Yeah. And every guy down there that was watching this cat with the flamethrower just blast this, you know, where they think the anomaly is, 30 feet up or so. Mm-hmm. Every guy down on the ground is looking up at this guy going, wow, that's great. Ooh, wow. And I'm sitting there thinking every one of those guys wants to be shooting that flamethrower.
You're damn right.
Flamethrower too.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, I'm not sure, the Tesla coil was neat looking, but I don't see how that actually shot into the area, because it was going to a rod that they had placed.
Well, so I think you'd have to shoot it through, and they didn't see anything, which I find odd. I mean, that's a lot of voltage going through that thing. There's got to see. This is where I start kicking in. That much electrical energy going through where they think the anomaly is would have had to have triggered something.
Yeah.
The flamethrower
you would think
around it.
Yeah, and that's what they did next, and I thought that was really cool because you could see the shape. It made it look like it especially when they showed it frame by frame of
Yeah.
the flames coming out like they were curving around something. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, that could just be, but as it keeps going, they also had a drone with LiDAR um,
Yeah.
on this area.
Oops, it doesn't
Uh,
work.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but that was before the
that was
flamethrower.
before that, but the data and stuff that they got from that is interesting. But
Yeah,
the I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, the
I'm sorry.
flamethrower. No, that's quite all right.
Had
So
the
we
drone
got
up
to
with
see
the LiDAR.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was they also earlier in the episode tried to link up with the space station, the International Space Station, and track the radio waves as they came across the ranch, and they were
Yeah.
going to see what would happen when it crossed over the triangle if there was something there that would block the radio waves. Well, it kind of did as the space station got almost directly overhead. They lost contact with it, and
Mhm.
all their equipment shut off. So,
Right.
and the drone went down and everything.
Well, I think what they were trying to do was get a reading. I think the space station
Mm,
has instruments on it
yeah,
that could have done a reading on the ranch, like right above it.
right.
They weren't trying to see what would shut down. I think they were actually trying to
Well,
get a
no,
reading.
they were
The
trying to
guys,
see because
yeah, the
they
guys,
knew the data was coming through there,
yeah, the
and
guy's drone died. The
yeah,
computers died. They didn't even track. I mean, their tracking devices, everything. The computers just went dead.
yeah,
And
they did.
then whenever it got past a certain area, which is right where they were centered on the triangle, everything started coming back up and rebooting all on its own, which I
Yeah,
found that kind of interesting. And then and I think what you were going to talk about in the same area,
yeah,
the guy with the drone and the LiDAR was the big black spot.
yeah.
I think that's where you were headed. So
Yeah,
I'll let you go ahead.
that's where I was heading. With the data that they got, there's a void right there in the center of the triangle, and it's just there's no data, and everything else is being reflective. So it's like a little black hole, and they started extrapolating it could possibly be a wormhole. And
Mhm.
now, if let's just go with that for a second. Let's
Right.
just say if it's a wormhole, that answers several questions.
Mhm.
Where are these UAPs disappearing or coming from? Why are they seeing things and then they're gone again?
Right.
So it explains the energy spikes, the frequencies that they're getting. It
Mhm.
explains, it answers quite a bit, but that
Right.
doesn't mean that's exactly what it is. It just kind of fits the narrative at the moment.
Right.
Um, but
Right.
it's pretty damn cool, especially when they talk about the shape of it, how a wormhole would actually be shaped, would make it look like that's what's
An
bouncing off.
Einstein-Rosen bridge,
Yes.
which is a wormhole, a
Yeah.
stable wormhole, because Einstein and the other professor Rosenbridge had come up with a Rosen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Came up with the thought that you could stabilize a wormhole and move faster than light. And if you have a stable wormhole, you have a certain amount of energy, which is probably infinite, because it's
Yeah.
a lot of energy to stabilize one. Because there's so much that should go wrong. So if this is indeed a stable wormhole, is it a natural wormhole and somebody's just found it and using it? Or is it a manufactured wormhole, like
Mhm.
on DS9,
Right.
that somebody can turn on and turn off? Because this thing seems to be in place at all times.
It does.
It's
It
just
seems to be
not
like a permanent
operating.
fixture.
Yeah, it's just not operating it. It's like having a light bulb in your house. Until you click it on, it's not
Yeah.
operating. The light doesn't show. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
there, but it's not being used all the time until they shoot a rocket or a mortar or a flamethrower or a freaking
Right.
Tesla coil into the middle of it, and then all of a sudden shit starts happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's that was fascinating. I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
And I read something this morning, and I don't know. I was going to try and look it up, but I'll look a little bit later.
Mhm.
It it was a report about from the CERN reactor that they had transmitted I don't know what it was, particles or something, subatomic matter at faster than light speed.
Yep.
So if this is accurate, and they said they've been waiting for months and just compounding the data, going through the data and making sure that they're really seeing what they're seeing, and now they're convinced that they did just break the light barrier, that would change everything that we're just talking about. It would change a lot of shit because it would change the way the formulas are and all of that.
I'm trying to think of what they call it.
But I did see that this morning, and when you mentioned that, needed a wormhole since not traveling faster than light, and that reminded me of what I read.
I have to go yell at my dogs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
They actually did something, I want to say, back around the same time we were having all the earthquakes and all of the shit back in the early 2000s. A lot of people have realized or started thinking that they've maybe fucked up the timelines, because there's a lot of shit that I forgot what they call it, but when somebody's talking about a movie or something and other people go, no, that never happened. And then you have like 100 people in the room and 25 of them are going, no, that's how it happened.
Mandela
or 30
effect.
Of them, 50 or 50, what do they call it? I'm sorry.
Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect. Yeah. That's been happening to me and Kat, and
it's been happening to a lot of us. And it's
and
like,
I'm like,
wait
that
a minute.
Makes total sense. They opened up a fucking black hole, a miniature black hole or whatever they did, because at that time the earthquakes happened that literally shifted the Earth's axis. And then about that time is when we started having some weird weather, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's climate change!" No, dickheads, pardon the expression. It's the axis of the Earth has shifted. It doesn't take a lot to screw things up.
No, it really doesn't.
This planet's very well balanced. When something goes unbalanced, it takes a lot of time to fix it. You can't just knock it back to where it was.
If you have Bruce Willis and a crew of oil drillers,
exactly,
you could do it.
But I sit there and I hear these people say things like this and that, and it's like, shut up! You guys don't know your basic history. You live through it. Most of you live through it, and you still ignore it.
No, dude. But people don't know what happened last week.
The Mandela effect is very odd, and it's happened to me a lot lately. Like, I'll say something, and I'll have somebody go, "Oh yeah, I remember that," and other people are like, "That's never happened." I'm like, "What do you mean that never happened?" There's 12 of us saying, "Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday," and then other people go, "No." And I've been thinking more and more. I had an accident when I was a kid. When I was very, very young, I was about 5 or 6 years old, and technically I should have died. And as a kid, I do, and this is a completely different podcast from what we're doing now. It's part of the Mandela effect. It's part of a wormhole effect, and it's part of the CERN reactor. And I've been thinking a lot about it lately. I don't know why, but I do remember going out and going under, and I remember a nurse screaming, "Oh my God, he's dead!" And then waking up in the room later on, some little kid playing, throwing toys at me to get me woke up. But I should have died. The only reason I didn't die is because somebody was in a spot where they had no intention of being. Another podcast. I do want to talk about this, and it's interesting, especially with the Mandela effect. And I sit there and I wonder, like, how many other people have thought about something like that happened in their childhood and thought, man, I know I died. Why am I here now?
Yeah.
And it comes to the wormhole on Skinwalker Ranch. What? Because time and space are one and the same. You can't have time without space. You can't have space without time, because you can't tell somebody, meet me on Lexington Avenue. When? Oh, at 3:00. Time, space. They have to intermerge. They have to be there. They have to go together. You can't say 3:30 and walk out and expect the person to know where to be. This wormhole, when it's activated, may be changing a lot of stuff. And it seems like it's pretty active now. And I don't think it's been this active before. I mean, the history that I know of it doesn't seem like this is always happening 99% of the time.
Right.
This seems like they got active recently, probably because they're shooting rockets in the middle of it.
And they were also detecting that 1.6 gigahertz bandwidth, like it had turned on, and that's where that was coming from.
Exactly. So it makes me wonder if when CERN happened, it somehow maybe activated the ranch.
Well, the ranch is known for a lot of things for a long time, but that could be just an added component that wasn't there and eventually turned on. But
it seems like a long stretch and a long story for me to get to that point.
Yeah.
But I kind of in my head I had to say all that to get there. Sorry.
I never looked at, people say, you make a joke about deja vu is like a glitch in the matrix. And it's like, okay, that's a great conversation to have about simulations and the simulation theory, which is really cool. Right. But I don't know where I was going. All of a sudden, see, this deja vu and then the Mandela effect. Okay, so exactly. I always think, people would make a joke like that. And then the Mandela effect, I thought, well, it was just along the lines of kind of like deja vu. Oh, maybe I'm just misremembering. But today, when you had mentioned a possible change in the timeline, it reminded me of a story when I was a child and was injured. I had a pretty severe concussion, cracked my fucking skull. As a kid, and my parents swear up and down it never happened. So,
see?
Yeah.
See?
I'm just saying.
Like, I've got scars on me that I'm sure I should remember how I got a scar. I have no idea how I got the scar.
So
and I don't know if everybody's like that. It might just be a human thing where your mind's like, well, it's not that important. It didn't hurt you that bad. It's
it could be. It could be. Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I don't know how the human brain works. But if this is a machine, if Skinwalker Ranch in that area has got a big machine underneath it, and it does cause a Mandela effect, i.e., it's messing with the timeline also, not just time and space, but time itself, the timeline as we know it. And then you have a big machine like the CERN reactor going, and it's effing with the timeline because these guys don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't give a crap what anybody says. Once you start talking about making baby wormholes, and it's just, or black holes, and saying, oh, it's just a microscopic black hole. Well, fucking, pardon the expression, sorry, freaking that black hole has to start somewhere. They don't just, boom, I'm full size. No, they have to be tiny and get bigger.
Yeah.
Oi, dog.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's chewing on stuff.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, wormholes, CERN reactor, Skinwalker Ranch, they all could be connected. I mean, I thought it was neat seeing this time around. Just, like I said, putting in. Let's just say it is a wormhole. That answers so much. It explains the radiation. It explains the frequencies. It explains the energy spikes, all the stuff. And I want to say it was recently, I thought Travis had mentioned something about the time was off on some camera or something, almost like.
It was those balloons. Remember we were talking about the balloons? And they did it almost in passing. That scene did not last very long. There's a lot more info there. But he talked about because of the where the wormhole or where they think the thing is at, that it did something to time. Like the timeline was off, like by a quarter of a minute, quarter of a second, something like that.
Yeah, it was
I forgot the exact time. But I remember thinking that's how my head started working about CERN. Because if I remember correctly, reading something about when they did this, somebody's watch or something happened to somebody's time. And I'm like, you freaking morons. You freaking morons.
Hey, roll back first couple seasons, Caleb's phone would always be like the time would freeze and do all kinds of so interesting.
It's and now what I don't understand is why they're not looking at these particle accelerators, because there's more than one. Me personally, I'd have got Miko Kachu in here, at least to question him, because he's the guy to go to for this kind of stuff, I
Yeah.
think. He was like 9 or 10 when he built a particle accelerator in his garage and blew out the Los Angeles freaking electrical system.
That is a cool story.
That's a guy who knows something about particle accelerators, time and space, quantum physics. Get the guy in there and go, okay, this is what we have. What do you think? Because he's going to tell you, he's going to go on a long diatribe and go, it's this, it could be this, could be this. And then he's going to look at you and go, or I could be completely wrong, which is why I love the guy, because he leaves himself open to be wrong. He leaves himself open to look at another issue.
Any
there's just weird stuff on this ranch and in this area.
There is.
Call in people, not government agents. Call in people.
And that's just it. It brings the question. I get Brandon wants whatever help he can get.
People that he knows and trusts. Yeah.
And maybe he does. And maybe I'm sure he's all part of this. And, he wants to find out as much as anybody else. So, you know what? I can't fault the guy. I might go along with him. No. But I do get the argument. It's like, can we bring in some non-partial observers?
Yeah, bring in somebody who hasn't worked directly for the government and created bombs and shit.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for. I just want somebody who's a neutral observer that can kind of look at this stuff and is smart enough to go, hey, I think you guys are onto something. Or look at it and go, well, if you're smart, you won't try and turn it on. And then there's me who goes, how do you turn this thing on? This light bulb's got to have an on switch.
Where's that at?
Where's the on switch? That's what I'm curious about now. What is their next step? You found it. It gets activated and it turns off somehow, some way. It's there because when you had the helicopter directly above it and you were dropping stuff, aiming down your foot, looking right at it, dropping those bottles with all the instruments in it, they were dropping a mile away.
I know.
So there's some kind of field over that doesn't let you actually see what's there.
Yep.
How do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? But if you find the on switch, you better make sure it's also the off switch.
I think
before you turn it on.
I think what they need to do, and this is going to roll it back episode, is episode 10 when they had the drummers there, the drum circle going.
Yeah.
And what they had found, because I was about to say, blast it with frequency. It's what they did. And with the drummers, now this is what's interesting. They started the ritual, the music, the sound vibrations, opened up let's just, for sake of argument, say they did open up some small portals where a being could come through because they heard somebody walking around. They felt the presence of something there. So to me, my brain's now thinking, okay, so they did that. Who's ever in control of this is going to step out and look and say, what are y'all doing? Can you mind shut the damn door?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah. Or maybe they're just curious. I don't know.
Here again, me personally, I think I would try to get that drum circle up on the sacred mount, up on top of the mesa, and try that all over again. That's where it was glowing. Try and see if that other doorway opens up. Do you the same tests that you just did at the triangle on top of the mesa where the other little lower door is at, and see if you have the same concave effect, only smaller. If you do, that's the door I would try to open. I wouldn't try to open the big one.
No, because that's
let a big freaking reptilian monster in from another planet that can't be killed by any conventional means. Hey, let's just open up the little one and see what comes in. And make sure we can close that damn door quick.
Yeah.
And you might not want to open it just because you don't want them to know that you're there. They might not even realize you're there.
Yeah. Well, I think it might even be Jay Stratton or Robert Bigelow, somebody on Bigelow's team, or at the time I remember reading that they claimed to have made contact with beings that have come through portals. So
wow,
that's what's frustrating about this is there's people that know exactly
Mhm.
what's going on there, and we're not stupid.
right.
You know, I'm just saying. It's like,
And if they
why?
come out and
Why?
tell you this is exactly what's happening, the government comes out and goes, "No, that never happened. He's lying. He was fired 6 months before any of that happened, and they have all the paperwork to prove it."
Well, which is this
Which
is
is a
where it gets,
lie, but
well, yeah, which is makes it very frustrating because you'll have the truth coming out. The government will throw some truth out, and then they'll throw misdirection out, and
right,
it's a
right,
psychological warfare that we're in
yeah, it's a big
for getting
psyop.
this info out. It is. It's complete psyop.
And yet
It's.
I'm there for the whole thing.
I am. I
I've
am.
been
It's
sucking it in,
entertaining.
and I'm watching Skinwalker Ranch until the end, baby, because
Yeah. Till
this
we
last
find
episode
absolutely
is
nothing.
great. And I hope everybody who's watching can follow my circular logic with the CERN. That's just how I had to get to a point.
I think
Um,
they need to shoot a rocket at it.
well, next week it looks like they're shooting a lot of rockets at it,
Yeah,
and it looks like
Travis
a
is
whole
going to
lot of government
probably.
crap showed up.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. So that's interesting, and I know that's where we go down that rabbit hole. But
Right?
it's so in your face, and like you, I'm in it to see it all the way through.
Yeah.
You,
No
it's
matter
like
what.
you can't ever trust your eyes, your ears. Everything
Especially
is
now.
so manipulated. So it's
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yeah.
ride. You know.
Especially now with all the AI bull crap happening right now, and all the fake, deep fake stuff, and it's like, and the deep fake voices, and the deep fake faces, and the deep,
And that's
like,
also
in
that's why
now,
the Actors Guild went on strike, was
yeah,
for
that's part of the
they
reason,
wanted to deep
evidently.
fake them. Yeah.
But here's the problem: if it's not in your contract, then you don't have to worry about it. If you sign on that they can do that, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Now, the writers have a bigger problem because they are literally writing. And then what's happening is the company or some programmer is taking what's already been written by all these other people who are
Mhm.
never intended to have it used this way, are now being written. And that's AI. AI just accepts all this and looks at it. And
Yep.
for however it does it, I don't know. It's all magic to me, folks. Anything I don't understand, magic. That's all I'm saying. Computers, magic. Don't know how the camera works, magic. It's technology, but it's magic. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
magic is just
it,
science we do
it's
not understand,
yeah,
you
and
know,
it's
or is it the other way around? Yeah.
in the tech, it's in the contract, it's in, and you got to be careful with this. I mean, I don't always agree with Elon Musk on about 90% of the stuff in the world, but sometimes he says some shit that I go, oh yeah, I can agree with
Mhm.
that. Like the whole, hey, maybe you guys are rushing AI before it needs to be rushed, and you probably shouldn't do that. Says the guy who still wants to jack your brain into a computer.
Says the guy who's working on AI right now.
Exactly.
So
But I'd like to think there are good guy billionaires and bad guy billionaires.
yet to see the good
And,
ones.
and we all know that Bezos is the bad guy billionaire.
Just because he looks like Lex Luthor, I mean,
He's just not as smart. He just got lucky. I don't know if luck had anything to do with it, to be honest with
no,
you.
but he
He had
did
to
make
work
some
his
good
ass
moves.
off, get whatever he
Yeah.
got.
Wow. Skinwalker
Government,
Ranch, folks.
contracts don't hurt.
We
And
took a
speaking of
long
government contracts,
route. Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch. See how I spin
Skinwalker
it around
Ranch.
again? That's my circular
Yeah.
logic.
Circular like the CERN reactor. Hey,
Yes,
folks.
see?
Do recommend you tune in, check out episode 11. Looks like a whole bunch of stuff going down in the next episode. Lots of rockets for Travis to get excited about. I'm excited about it. I'm glad the show picked back up. Can't
Yeah.
wait to see how this season ends, you know.
Hopefully by the time we do the next show, my voice will be clear, my head will be clear, and I won't have so much circular logic going on.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in to Neverworld Podcast. If you like our show, please hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, leave us a comment. And thanks for those who have left us comments. Really appreciate to know that you took the time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
we
much,
will
folks.
catch you next week.